Good evening, everyone. My name is Logaraj Komren. Today, our group is going to present a chemical hazard. I'm going to present a definition of chemical hazard. A chemical hazard is a substance, non-biologic, that has the potential to endanger life or health. Chemicals are widely used in homes and other settings. Chemical exposure can have both immediate and long-term negative health consequences. Neutronics, amino agents, dermatological agents, carcinogenic, reproductive toxins, systemic toxins, asthma, phenome agents, and sanitizers are examples of hazardous chemicals. Chemicals has a type of occupational hazard in the workplace. Personal protective equipment used as PPE can significantly reduce the risk of injury from the hazard material contact. Next, I'm going to type of chemical hazard. Flammable and combustible liquids. Example is diesel. Compressed gases. Example propane. Explosive TNT. Organic pre-oxidized. Example is metallic peroxide in use the manufacturing of polystyrene. Reactive peroxide and in using bleaching agent. Oxidized using as industrial definite and fertilizer. Pyrogenics, white papyrus. Carcinogenics, example is feedstock of many potential process. Reproductive toxic, example is lead diagonsis. Ingredients, example is hydrochloric acid and be used in food manufacturing or oil processing. Corrosive, example is sulfuric acid used in manufacturing chemicals. Sanitizer, example latex and using the manufacturing curve. Hypodermics, treatable and usually wide in industry. Nephrotoxics is nephron, is NCA8. The last one is radioactive material. Example is uranium salts and plutonium. That's all from today. Thank you.
Inhalation is the most common method of chemical exposure in the workplace. Inhaled substances include gas, vapor, mist, dust, smoke, and fumes. Those with physical labor jobs may be exposed to higher level of chemical if they work in a polluted area. This is because workers who do physical labor drinks more than 10,000 liters of air per day, whereas workers who do not do physical labor drinks only 2,800 liters. If the air in the workplace is polluted, increased air exchange will result in greater chemical inhalation. When food or drink is contaminated by unwashed hand or by poor clothing or handling practice, chemical can be ingested. Chemical burn are common workplace injury, but they can also happen at home with chemical like bleach or drain cleaner. Chemical contact with the skin usually result in localized irritation of the exposed area. In some cases, the chemical is absorbed through the skin and cause poisoning because the eye is highly sensitive to chemicals. It is a high-risk area for chemical exposure. Chemical exposure to the eyes cause irritation as well as burns and vision loss. In the workplace, injection is a rare method of chemical exposure. When workers are pricked by sharp objects such as needles, chemicals can be injected into the skin. Chemical can enter the bloodstream directly into the being exposed to that through injection.
Hi and good morning. My name is Shantiran Analakinada Rajuudiar. Today, I'm going to talk about chemical hazard which our group choose to present. First of all, I like to talk about symbols of chemical hazard. As you can see in our poster, we already put the symbols. You can refer to the poster. First of all, symbols. The hazard pictogram is a type of labeling system that enable alert the public at a glance to the presence of hazardous chemical. The symbol are determine whether the chemicals to be used may cause physical harms or environmental harms. As we know, it can also not only for humans but also for environment, for animals. The symbols stand out because they are always in a diamond shape or sometimes in a circle shape. Okay, there are 9 types of symbols we choose. First of all, which is explosive. As you can know, they are in important factories like in place like mines. They also have designs. Flammable, as you can see, is everywhere, and also oxidizing. From oxygen also fire can happen. Also we have corrosive. For example, like scientist lab, we have like acid, so you have to always careful of that. We also have acute toxicity, which is for skulls, for bone, until like that. We also have hazard to environment. Yes, this is important. Hazard to environment, because environment, like for example forest, public places, we can see that kind of thing. So we have to prevent chemical things. We cannot bring to spoil the nature. Okay, we also have health hazard. We can usually see in hospitals, and we also have serious health hazard. For serious health hazard, maybe we can always see it at a factory that doing the chemical things. They always have the safety measures, so we have to prevent that. We also have gas under pressure. That's all the signs and symbols that we have put together in our poster. Thank you.
Controlling chemical expose. First, elimination and substitution. Each year, chemical expose is estimated to cause 190,000 illness and 50,000 work deaths. The link between chemical expose and subsequent illness and or death is unknown. As a result, the majority of the illness and the deaths are true to be the result of the lack of knowledge or awareness of chemical dangers. The best way to reduce chemical expose in the workplace is to remove or replace all chemicals that are subsequent or causing illness or death. Engineering controls. Also, the most well-known method of controlling chemical expose is the elimination and replacement of hazardous chemicals. There are other methods that can be implemented to reduce expose. Another method is controlling chemical expose in the implementation of engineering controls. When engineering controls are implemented, physical changes to the workplace are made to eliminate or reduce the risk of chemical expose. The enclosure or isolation of a process that creates a chemical hazard is an example of engineering control. Third, administrative and work practice control. If the chemical hazard causing process cannot be closed or isolated, the next best option is to implement administrative control and work practices. This is the implementation of administrative and work practice that will reduce the time and frequency which workers are exposed to chemical hazards. Lastly, personal protective equipment (PPE). Employee must provide personal protective equipment (PPE) to the employees to protect them from chemical use in workplace. The use of PPE protect workers from chemical expose via inhalation, absorption through the skin or eyes, inhalation and injection. Refrigerators an example of how PPE can help prevent chemical expose. Workers who wear refrigeration avoid chemical expose through inhalations. Next, first aid. To minimize damage in the event of an emergency, it's recommended that you understand the first aid procedure. Different chemicals can cause various types of damage. Most couriers agree that any skin or eye contact should be immediately flushed with water. There is currently insufficient evidence on how long flushing should take because the degree of impact varies of substance like couriers chemical. The recommended flush time, on the other hand, is as follows. For 5 minutes to none to mild irritation, 50 minutes moderate to severe irritates and chemical that cause acute toxicity, 30 minutes most corrosive, 60 minutes strong alkalis such as sodium, potassium or calcium hydroxide. Transporting the affected person to a medical facility may be necessary depending on the circumstances. If the victim must be transported before the recommended flush time, the flush should be performed while the victim is in transit. Thank you.
Next is long-term risk chemical hazard. Number 1 is cancer. Every day, people are exposed to large amount of chemical, but the exposure is usually insufficient to cause health problems. Chemical exposure outside the home and at work can increase your risk of developing cancer. Chemicals such as benzene, beryllium, asbestos, wind chloride, and arsenic are non-human carcinogens, which means they have been linked to cancer in humans. The amount, length, frequency, and timing of chemical exposure affect a person's risk of developing cancer. Some chemicals have been shown in animal studies to cause cancer, but they have not been proven to cause cancer in humans. These chemicals are known to be probable human carcinogens because they are expected to cause cancer in humans. Human carcinogens include chloroform, DDT, formaldehyde, and chlorinated biphenyls, which is PCBs. Number 2 is cardiovascular disease. According to a 2017 SBU report, workplace exposure to silica dust, engine exhaust, or welding fumes is linked to heart disease. There are also associations for arsenic, benzoprene, lead, dynamite, carbon disulfide, carbon monoxide, metalworking fluids, and occasional tobacco smoke exposure. Working with electrolytic aluminium production or paper production when the pulping process is used is linked to heart disease. Heart disease was also linked to exposure to compounds that are no longer permitted in certain workplaces, such as benzoic acid containing TCDD, dioxin, or asbestos. Exposure to silica dust or asbestos in the workplace has also been linked to heart and lung disease. Workplace exposure to lead, carbon disulfide, or benzoic acid containing TCDD, as well as working in environment where aluminium is electrolysically produced, has been linked to stroke. In conclusion, chemical hazard needs to be emphasized in an organization because chemical hazard can cause harm to people, especially workers that work in there. This is said to be so because chemical hazard contain radiation that can cause cancer to workers. Therefore, we need to limit the use of chemical hazard because they can cause problems for both parties. It is employers and employees. Finally, I, as a researcher for this topic, I would like to give an opinion that we must terminate the chemical hazard. But if we can terminate the chemical hazard, we need to limit the use of the chemical hazard. That's all for my group.